Okay, last up for this worksheet is topic 3, which we're going to review the order of operations. So the order of operations should not be shocking to you. We've done this in the previous 3 chapters. We did it with whole numbers, integers, and fractions. So now we're just going to do the same old order of operations, but now we're going to incorporate fractions and decimals now. Okay, so remember the steps to the order of operations is first perform all operations within grouping symbols. So grouping symbols are parentheses. You can have brackets and braces. You could also have absolute value bars, and you could have a square root symbol. If there's addition or subtraction under the square root symbol, you would do that first. Next, we want to evaluate expressions with exponents. You'll sometimes also put square roots here. If you just have like a plain old square root, you can do that in step 2. Step 3 is to multiply or divide in order from left to right. And then finally, the 4th step is add or subtract in order from left to right. And we will frequently use PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, as a way to remember the order of operations. Okay? Now, for example 5, it says use the order of operations to simplify each expression. You're definitely going to want to give yourself space for these because you're going to have to potentially do a little bit of side work for some of the decimal operations. Okay? But no big deal. We got this. All right? So for part A, we have 20.06 minus 1.2 squared divided by 10 all over 0.02. So what we're going to do is we're going to completely simplify the numerator, well, the denominator is already simplified, and then we'll divide at the end. Okay, so we're going to kind of do top versus bottom. We'll divide at the very last step because technically what's happening here is even though we don't write it, it's like there's one big set of grouping symbols on our numerator. Okay? So first thing I see in my numerator is the 1.2 squared. So we already talked about decimals and exponents in a previous video. So we know that 1.2 squared is just 1.2 times 1.2. So I've got 1.2 times itself. Well, I'm going to line them up right-hand side, and then I'm just going to start multiplying. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. All right. So I finished multiplying by what's in kind of like the ones place. I now need to multiply by what's technically in the tens place. So I'm going to put my 0 placeholder and then multiply everything by 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. I need to add my partial products. So 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 2. There's nothing to add to the 1, so I just drop it down. And remember, we look at the sum of the decimal places in our factors. We have 2 decimal places. That tells me I need 2 decimal places in my product, okay? So my product for 1.2 squared is 1.44. So let's rewrite this whole problem. We're going to get 20.06 minus 1.44 divided by 10 all over 0.02. Okay? And remember, there's technically a set of brackets around the whole numerator. So we have to simplify the whole numerator before we can divide by the denominator. Okay, so next we have 1.44 divided by 10. Now, in the last worksheet, I told you, hey, if you're dividing by powers of 10 that are greater than 1, so 10 is greater than 1, it's really quite easy to do the division. You count the number of zeros in your power of 10, and then you just move your decimal to the left 1 time for each 0 in the power of 10. So that makes 1.44 equal to 0.144. So I've got 20.06 minus, well, 1.44 divided by 10 is 0.144. And then I can divide by 0.02. Okay? So I need to do my subtraction. In the numerator, I have 20.06. I want to subtract 0.144. I have to add in my 0 filler there. Okay, so I can't take 4 from 0, but I could borrow. So 6 becomes a 5, 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 5 minus 4 is 1. Unfortunately, I can't take 1 from 0, and I can't borrow from 0, so I go to the 2. 2 becomes a 1. The first 0 becomes a 10, and now I can borrow, so the first 0 becomes a 10, then a 9, and that middle 0 becomes a 10. So 10 minus 1 is 9. And then 9 minus 0 is 9, and 1, there's nothing to subtract from it, so I just bring it down. So what we have now is 19.916 divided by 0.02. Okay, so we need to do some side work for this. Remember, when we're dividing decimals, we have to make sure our divisor is an integer. Well, in this case, our divisor of 0.02 is not an integer. To make it an integer, I would move my decimal twice to the right. Well, if I move my decimal twice to the right in the denominator, I have to do the same thing to the numerator. Okay, so what I'm really dividing is 1,991.6 divided by 2. Well, I can do some side work for that. So I've got 1,991.6 divided by 2. Don't forget to bring your decimal up into your answer and then just divide like always. So 2 won't go into 1, but it will go into 19 9 times. So 9 times 2 is 18. Subtract, I get a 1. Drop down the next digit in line, which is a 9. So 2 goes into 19, still 9 times. So 9 times 2 is still 18. I subtract and I get a 1. Drop down the next digit in line, which is a 1. 2 into 11, it'll go in 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10, so I subtract the 10, I get a 1. And finally, we drop down the 6. 2 will go into 16 8 times. 8 times 2 is 16. I've got my 0 remainder. So we can say finally, after quite a few steps, our final answer is 995.8. And that's it. All right, last up for part B, we have negative 7/10 squared plus 2.1. Okay, now we can do this two ways, doesn't really matter at all. I think for me, I'm going to keep the fraction in fraction form and evaluate that exponent first. And I'm doing that because my denominator is a power of 10, which is kind of easy to work with. Then I'll convert my fraction to a decimal. Okay, so off to the side, we have negative 7/10 squared. Well, that is negative 7/10 times negative 7/10. So first of all, I have a negative in parentheses with an even exponent. That's going to make this whole thing positive, okay? And then technically, 7 times 7 is just 7 squared, or 49. And then 10 times 10 is 100. So this right here, the negative 7/10 squared, translates to positive 49 over 100. And then don't forget we have plus 2.1. Well, 49 over 100, it's easier for me if I'm adding decimals than to add fractions. So I don't want to try to convert 2.1 to a fraction. Instead, I'm going to convert 49 over 100 to a decimal. And it's actually really easy because dividing by powers of 10 isn't too bad, okay? So we count the zeros in our power of 10. We have 2. So that tells me I can move a decimal to the left twice. So we move to the left for division. So if you don't see a decimal, you assume it's at the end of the number. So I can move my decimal back 1, 2 places. So that makes 49 hundredths 0.49. So I really just have 0.49 plus 0.21. So 0.49 plus 2.1. Let me fix that. This is 2.1. Please make sure you make that a 2.1. So 0.49 plus 2.1. I'm going to go ahead and add my filler 0. And then I'm just going to add column by column. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 1 is 5. Drop down your decimal. And then 0 plus 2 is 2. So this equals 2.59. So that's it. That's the order of operations. You've had a lot of practice with the order of operations at this point. We're just throwing in some decimals. That's the only difference, okay? So make sure you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. Make sure you understand exponents with decimals, converting fractions to decimals, and order of operations.